watching The Buck Stops Here. Time now for our other big political debate on the program tonight. The Prime Minister's comments cautioning the judiciary to beware of what he called five-star activists has provoked a fierce public debate. Today, former Additional Solicitor General and well-known lawyer Indira Jaising went on record in the Indian Express to virtually accuse the Prime Minister of trying to intimidate the judiciary. She also asked the Prime Minister to clarify whom he was referring to when he used the phrase five-star activists, mentioning in that article that name-calling was no solution. Mr. Modi's supporters and other commentators have hit back and in fact agreed with the comments, making the argument that several sections of civil society have for long been biased against Narendra Modi and the BJP. Joining us now to explore in a little bit more of complexity is Indira Jaising herself and of course Tavleen Singh, well-known author and columnist. Indira Jaising, let me start by asking you that when you say in this article in the Indian Express that the Prime Minister was trying to intimidate the judiciary, that this was name-calling, do you in some ways confirm the critics of people like yourselves who will say that you have made an elaborate overstatement in what was perhaps just a sarcastic remark?
Look, Barkha, it doesn't behove the Prime Minister of a country to make a sarcastic remark on a solemn occasion. He was, at the end of the day, addressing a conference of Chief Justices from all over the country. It was a solemn event. It's not an event which occurs every day. And one expects him to make a speech of some substance, where he's unfolding a vision for what he thinks is the way forward for the people of this country, for law and justice, for social justice. But ma'am, did you not think that the speech was substantive? You're actually focusing on one sentence or three words in it, five-star activist. That doesn't necessarily detract away from the substance of his speech. You know, Barkha, it's possible to make a speech and just throw in an agenda that you want people to kind of get, you know. And that's why I am insisting that he was, I can understand if he was addressing a group of activists or he was addressing a group of, you know, civil society or whatever. He was addressing Chief Justices. So where was the need to throw that in except to say, look, don't listen to these activists. I mean, five-star, by the way, one doesn't know what he means by that. And, you know, this kind of hit-and-run method, you call someone a five-star activist and then you disappear without explaining what you mean by it. I'm sorry, but it doesn't behove a Prime Minister.
Okay, let me bring in Tavleen Singh at this point. Tavleen, do you think that Indira's argument has some merit, that where the Prime Minister was speaking was not a political occasion? That if there is to be a political barb, and he has every right because he's also a politician, not just the Prime Minister, to his political positions, then addressing the Chief Justices was not the moment for that. How do you read the Prime Minister's comment on five-star activists?
Okay, for a start, I totally disagree with Ms. Indira Jaising that this was not a substantive speech. I actually tweeted that it was a powerful speech because it's the first time in a long time that I've heard a Prime Minister talk about the need for improvement in our judiciary. We have cases of murder that go on for 20 years and there's been no improvement. And he talked about the need to get rid of laws that made it difficult for the justice system to work better. Now, on the five-star thing, out of a speech, a very long speech, there was one paragraph. And, frankly, I am totally in agreement with him because I have seen ideologically motivated NGOs, mostly left-wing NGOs, and as you know, I don't really like the left wing, and they have sort of they've taken cases to court, PILs, etc., and created the sort of atmosphere in which justice or judges, you know, may have been influenced, and I think that's what he meant.
But
and, you know, on the environment, on even the coal thing, Barkha.
Yeah. But
frankly, you know, they cancelled coal, agreements that go back to 1993. Do you know how many people lost their jobs? And this was because of the atmosphere created by these five-star activists.
What are five-star activists, Tavleen? What is the five-star a rating,
Well,
or is it
I know
a
them very
reference to
well.
luxury? What is a five-star activist?
They fly in first class all over the world, and they live in luxury suites. And don't ask me to name them, because you'll get into trouble as much as I will. But I have a list.
No, don't worry, I'm not scared of trouble. I've seen enough coming my way, and I'll deal with whatever comes next. But Indira Jaising, are you not being alarmist? You have every right to be offended at the swipe. But are you not being alarmist? Are you not overstating the fact when you say this is tantamount to trying to intimidate the judiciary? I mean, here is where a number of your critics will say, Indira, you've lost a sense of proportion in your objection.
Okay. See, Barkha, first let me just make a comment on what Tavleen said. You know, I find that the Prime Minister, when he speaks, is still in campaign mode, the mode that he was in before, when he was electioneering, before he became a Prime Minister. When I said what I said, what I'm actually saying is that we expect him to behave like the Prime Minister of a country, not as a campaigner, as a statesman, as a statesperson. So that's as far as his style is concerned. Now, on your question, am I being alarmist? Look, my concern is with the Constitution of India. And there are three organs of state: the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive. And I believe that all three must pay equal respect to each other. And when I raise the alarm, I do raise an alarm because I am indeed alarmed. You cannot be so disrespectful in your speech to a co-equal organ of state. Now, I know Tavleen is right, actually, when she says that there are a lot of things wrong with the judiciary as well, in the sense of the delays in the settlement of any cases, in the backlog that we see. But that's a different order of problem. It's not the same thing as saying that the Supreme Court is succumbing to pressures from quote-unquote five-star activists.
But Indira Jaising, if I may quote from your column today before I take it back to Tavleen, this is what you say. You say name-calling is not the solution, nor is intimidating the judiciary. Our judiciary has a tradition of putting prime ministers and chief ministers in their place when the occasion requires, and will do so again if need be. It is not an easy judiciary to humiliate or tame. This is a very grave accusation coming from you, Indira. You have been an officer, a law officer of the previous government. The question is, are you actually saying the PM was out to humiliate or tame the judiciary?
Barkha, look, nobody can go inside the mind of the PM. I'm concerned with his words, okay? I'm concerned with the language he uses. What he intended to say and what he said may be two different things. I'm not concerned with that. Now, coming back to the power of the judiciary, yes, don't forget, it's the same judiciary within living memory. Mrs. Indira Gandhi, the late Mrs. Gandhi, was not allowed to vote although she was Prime Minister of the country. She was put in her place by the judiciary at a given point of time. The Supreme Court of India has dealt very recently with Jayalalitha's case. I don't want to go into the details because the case is still pending. The Supreme Court of India has cancelled licenses. Now, Tavleen has a problem with the cancellation of licenses. Well, there's a procedure prescribed by law. You can go back to the court, you can file your review petitions. Indeed, you can even pass legislation validating those contracts, okay? What I'm saying is there's always a legitimate way of dealing with grievances. You do not deal with a grievance by name calling. And you know, by calling people like me or others five-star activists, let me tell you, we are not going to disappear from the face of this earth.
Why do you think he meant you? You've included yourself in it. Why do you think he meant you? You've taken it personally,
well, Barkha,
haven't you?
I mean, okay, Barkha, let me tell you, I've had a long history of working in the Supreme Court of India. I consider it an institution to which I have devoted the better part of my life. And it's no secret that I have taken up cases like those of the pavement dwellers, those of the hawkers, those of women, rights and so on and so forth. So I recently argued Priya Pillai's case. So I'm not saying he referred to me. Please don't get me wrong.
No,
he referred to a whole class of us.
Sure, I was joking.
You know, we were all brushed by the same paintbrush.
Okay, now I want to bring back Tavleen. Tavleen, you said that you do not, you don't have much fondness for the left wing, as it were. Now, that's fine. But the left of centre has a right to exist. This is a democracy. There are checks and balances and a divergence of views. And, even when you look at what happened with Greenpeace, the court finally upheld the right of Priya Pillai to travel. But today you have the Home Ministry shutting down the foreign accounts of Greenpeace. Now, I'm not personally a fan of Greenpeace's approach or tactics or maybe even politics. But Tavleen, we are a democracy. Doesn't Greenpeace or the left of centre also have a right to exist without being dubbed five-star activists by no less than the Prime Minister?
I'm amazed at your question. The left wing has controlled the Indian intellectual public space for 67 years. There are very few rightists who would admit to being rightists. What I was talking about is that, for instance, environment, we won't take names, but there are environmental
why don't you take
NGOs,
names? Why,
not
when have you
necessarily
become hesitant to take names, Tavleen? You said twice now, I won't take names.
All right, okay. Medha Patkar, Sunita Narayan, Greenpeace. Why have they not concentrated on really helping the environment improve by, talking about the filth of our rivers, the horrible conditions in which Indians live? Why is it always some big project that they stop, and that sometimes they end up stopping it to the detriment of the poorest citizens of India? I think of Vedanta as a real example. Orissa today would have been, or could have been, the aluminium producing center of the world had Vedanta not been stopped by, what are they called? Five-star, whatever they are, activists. And I call them five-star because I've seen them on flights. They travel first class and they have to stay in the best salons. And some of them, when they arrive, they go straight to the beauty parlor to have their hair done.
But what's
so they
wrong
are
with
five-star activists.
What's wrong with five-star? What's wrong with having your hair done?
No, I'm
Does
pretty
it take away our right
fond
to
of
have a
five-star.
political position?
I'm only
What's
I'm
wrong
only
with
using it
five-stars?
because the Prime Minister did. Secondly, I want to say that the Prime Minister's speech was all about improving the justice system. There was just one little paragraph. I've read the whole thing in Hindi just before I came here.
Okay.
And it's about making the judiciary perfect and not just powerful. It's a very powerful judiciary, which the only time it was actually cowed down was by Indira Gandhi during the emergency. When the Supreme Court ruled that Indians had no fundamental rights at all.
Yeah.
So, judges have also not such a good record. But the fact is that, the left wing has got a very, very strong influence on the judiciary, and we've seen it time and time again, case after case.
Okay. Indira Jaising, is that a fair question that in a sense the left has had a stranglehold? It's had a stranglehold on the media, we're often told, a stranglehold on how judges think, that in some ways this is the right of centre asserting a corrective application, as it were, to our public discourse to prevent it from being too lopsided. So when you talk, Indira, about contrarian views, you also have to be able to accept the right of centre as a view contrarian to that of yours without judging it, without calling it immoral, unethical, ominous, without vilifying it.
Look, Barkha, I would tend to agree with you, in fact, because I do think that every point of view needs to be ventilated. What I disagree with is to polarize the debate as us versus them. And this is what I resented about the Prime Minister's speech. He presented it as us versus them, okay? And it's just not done. Even with your right-wing agenda or your neoliberal agenda, you still have to think of a social welfare safety net.
Yeah.
I mean, the best of right-wing economists will tell you that right-wing politics does not work unless you think about the vast majority of the people of this country, and how are you going to draw them into the mainstream? So whether you're right or left of the political spectrum, you still need to carry the country with you. And that was my problem with his speech, I just didn't understand where was the need for the hostility.
Why did you see it as intimidatory vis-a-vis the judiciary? You made the point about activists in the left of centre, but you're actually taking it further and saying he was trying to humiliate, tame, intimidate the judiciary. That is your gravest charge, Indira.
Okay. See, Barkha, I mean, Tavleen brought up very interesting references to the late Mrs. Gandhi when she said Mrs. Gandhi was trying to get a committed judiciary. You know, the irony of the situation is I think the Prime Minister is doing nothing different compared to that. It's only that the kind of commitment he wants is to a different kind of politics. So what I'm trying to say is we have to reject this idea of a committed judiciary and just let the judiciary work as a judiciary.
So you're saying Narendra Modi is the new Indira Gandhi. I mean, that's what I'm hearing you say.
I'm not saying any such thing. But I'm
it.
saying that when you're talking to judges,
yes,
you cannot tell them what politics they should do.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
You have to let them do their job. You know, and let me tell you, Barkha, what did the Supreme Court do? They rejected the curriculum petition, which was brought by quote-unquote five-star activists or five-star lawyers. It was thrown out. They said, no, the country has decided to go in for nuclear energy, so be it. So if only Tavleen did her homework, she would realize that many of the petitions that the so-called left-wing have brought to court have been rejected.
Let's bring Tavleen in. Tavleen, go ahead. Let Tavleen respond to some of the points you've raised.
What is the complaint? I mean, what is the complaint? Today you have, on environmental issues, we are talking about one of the most polluted cities in the world.
Yes.
And you have judges saying, this will not be acceptable. Is she complaining about that? Is there anything left-wing about it? Is Sunita Narayan wrong in bringing these issues to court? So I just don't get it, you know.
Tavleen.
Yes.
Tavleen, go ahead.
You see, this is, I mean, this really is, it's not the polarization that's by rightists like me, it's by leftists like Indira Jaising. If the justice system improves, which is what the Prime Minister's speech was fundamentally about, the biggest gainers are the poorest citizens of this country. When a Sunita Narayan talks about arsenic in Coca-Cola, without pointing out that the drinking water that 99% of Indians get is undrinkable, why don't you think there's something wrong with that? And it's not us versus them. It is two different ways to actually get to the same point, which is to bring prosperity to the poorest citizens of India. The left have had a full chance and failed.
Tavleen, how do you respond to Indira Jaising's criticism that you cannot tell judges what political ideology they should be shaped by?
I don't think he was. I don't think there's nothing in that speech at any stage. She's obviously not read the speech. Talk about not doing homework, Ms. Jaising. Get on with yours. Because if you read the speech, there is at no stage any point.
I've read it. It's available on the official website.
He says you are the
speech is available on the official website.
Yeah,
sure.
He says you have
even
the power of the divine.
Sometimes are guided by the Prime Minister.
Well, that's, I don't know which country you live in, but I haven't seen that happen.
I've read the speech. It's up on the official
website.
Have
you read it in English? Speech. Read it in Hindi, Ms. Jaising.
Yeah, it's there.
Okay, last comments from both of you. Tavleen, first to you, then Indira. Five-star activists pitching it as us and them is her critique. How do you respond to that, Tavleen?
Well, I think five-star activists really need a talking to. At any chance that anyone gets to give it to them, good.
Indira?
Well, I'd say it's very ironic when the Prime Minister's cabinet is full of moneybags who are seen in five-star hotels all the time. We've just had a classic case of conflict of interest over BDs. I don't know what she's talking about, frankly.
But when it comes to wealthy members in politics, I think no party is immune to that. Is wealth the issue?
Sure, so why is she pointing fingers to five-star activists?
Tavleen, quick response?
Well, when you make personal comments about me, I will make them about you.
Can the Prime Minister not put his own household in order first before he starts pointing fingers at us?
Okay, quick word, Tavleen, then I've got to
Why are you guys so sensitive? Why do you have such thin skins? You point fingers at everybody all the time, very loudly, and shout at them.
Tavleen, I'm not sensitive about every...
You have to be able to take it.
I'm neither sensitive nor apologetic about my lifestyle. I am who I am.
Tavleen, 10 seconds.
That's clear.
We leave it there. Indira Jaising, Tavleen Singh, the Prime Minister has provoked a debate, much to think about, but that's it on the program tonight, I'm afraid. Very thankful that we were able to have a civilized debate, because I think that underlines the fact that in this country, there is space for the left, right, the centre, and whatever else you want to call it. Thanks for watching. The buck stops here. Good night from all of us.